A pizza delivery driver shot and carjacked on the job.
He's shot in the face, and it looks like the right thigh.
Fox 45 News brings you team coverage of the recent city violence targeting people at work.
T-Mobile, male shot inside of location.
And residents sound off and question the priorities of city leadership.
Crime is the #1 issue. Everybody knows it except our office holders.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
And we are following breaking news, a manhunt underway right now in Midtown Atlanta. After multiple people are shot, police are looking for 24-year-old Dion Patterson, who they say should be considered armed and dangerous. The shooting unfolded around noon inside a building. We understand one person has died, 4 others hurt. 3 of them are in critical condition. No motive is known.
Breaking overnight in Baltimore, food delivery driver is shot and carjacked in northwest Baltimore. It happened just before midnight near Druid Hill Park. Police say a 55-year-old man delivering food was approached by armed men. The man was shot before the suspects took his car and fled.
The victim in the shooting is a pizza delivery. They made off with his car. He's shot in the face.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. This is just the latest incident of crime impacting people trying to do business in the city.
Alexa Ashwell is in the studio right now with more information. Alexa?
Well, Kai, Mary, the frustration simply mounting. Yet another person has fallen victim to gun violence while simply earning a living here in Baltimore, this time a pizza delivery driver. Just before 11:30 last night, Baltimore police respond to this neighborhood outside of Druid Hill Park in northwest Baltimore after reports of a shooting.
The victim in the shooting is a pizza delivery.
Listen as police detail to 911 dispatch what officers find at the scene. A pizza delivery driver, while delivering an order, shot in the face and leg.
Yeah, he's shot in the face, and it looks like the right thigh area.
The suspects then stealing his car.
They made off with his car. That's the vehicle they pulled off in. It's a 2006 Honda CR-V.
The victim rushed to an area hospital as police begin their investigation. According to the department, the 55-year-old delivery driver, while making a delivery, was approached by 2 men here on Cottage Avenue. The suspects, investigators say, announced a robbery, and during it, one of the men shot the victim. The delivery driver, the latest person to fall victim to violence here in Baltimore, while simply working.
2,500 Boston, T-Mobile, male shot inside of location.
Just this week, 23-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez was shot and killed by armed robbers while working at this T-Mobile in Canton.
I'm sad for him. I'm sad for his family. The PTSD that it's bringing back to me.
The homicide bringing back traumatic memories for Jody Rossoff, when she says her shop in Highlandtown was also robbed at gunpoint just weeks ago. Rossoff frustrated by the level of crime in Baltimore as well as the handling of criminals. After more than 40 years in business, Rossoff is deciding to close her business, saying it's simply not safe.
This is our second armed robbery in 6 months. We have been here in the city for 44 years. For 44 years, we have paid property taxes, we have paid retail sales taxes, we have employed people. Shame on the mayor, shame on, the judges and the prosecutors and our former state's attorney for letting this happen to Baltimore City.
Calling for city leaders to do more, as a delivery driver now lies in the hospital, shot while on the job. I did check with police. The department would not confirm if the victim's vehicle has been found. No suspect description has been released. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. And as Alexa just mentioned, right now another Baltimore family mourning after their loved one was killed while working. The family of 23-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez is speaking first on Fox. He is the T-Mobile employee shot and killed over the weekend in Canton during an armed robbery.
It breaks our heart to know that we lost my brother to 2 criminals run wild in this city. Nobody wants to hear their son at work doing an honest job being shot over people trying to steal phones, money, or whatever they're trying to do.
Fabian's family members are calling on city leaders to do something to get the city's crime crisis under control. Police are looking for 2 suspects.
We're hearing from a former Baltimore police commissioner who says crime is happening anywhere at any time.
When you have innocent people being murdered midday in your business districts, you have a tremendous problem on your hands.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live downtown as the city's crime seems to spare no zip code or even time of day. Amy?
Yes, Kai, that was former Police Commissioner Ed Norris with some strong and pointed words about the city's crime crisis, specifically after that armed robbery in Canton turned homicide Sunday afternoon. But Sunday's crime that happened in Canton at that T-Mobile store, just one example of the problem here in Baltimore. You may remember last month, 2 teens were shot along Pratt Street, just steps from the Inner Harbor. Cell phone video captured the aftermath as crowds ran from those gunshots. And almost 1 year ago to the day, back on May 4th, 2022, this citizen video revealed a bloody T-shirt and police tape on the steps of the Hippodrome Theater after a man was shot while a performance was underway inside.
There is violence everywhere. And it used to be confined to certain neighborhoods that people knew where not to go, like you wouldn't be on Greenmount Avenue at 2:30 in the morning or something like that. But now it's extended throughout the city. There's no boundaries, no time of day. It doesn't matter if it's the afternoon, doesn't matter where you are. You can be the victim of a horrible, violent crime.
And so far this year, Baltimore police have recorded 199 non-fatal shootings and 89 homicides. We're live downtown. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Meanwhile, some are questioning what our city leaders are focused on and whether they need to turn their full attention to crime. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker pressing your council members for answers. She joins us live with more. Maxine?
On addressing the crime crisis, instead focusing on smaller things, and some city residents are taking notice.
As crime continues to plague Baltimore City, our elected leaders focused on stopping it.
Crime is the #1 issue. Everybody knows it except our office holders.
On the council agenda Monday night, a bill sponsored by Christopher Burnett prohibiting the willful use of the incorrect name or pronouns of an individual under certain circumstances. On WBAL Radio's TJ Smith show, Smith wondering where the council's priorities lie.
Doesn't mean we can't do more than one thing at a time, but prioritize those things and make sure if we're going to have the conversation about how difficult, it is to do certain things like fight the crime in the schools, the education and everything. Let's make sure we're putting that as a top priority all the time. It has to be.
Callers also expressing concern.
We've had 300 murders a year in the city and however many shootings. We have failing schools being covered up by corruption. And we have far too many real victims, and that we don't need any more because people had their feelings hurt.
And this isn't the first time council members' priorities have been called into question this year. Councilman Ryan Dorsey's proposal in March to ban gas-powered leaf blowers received blowback.
Put your focus on the crime. The crime is sincerely out of hand.
Over the weekend, 23-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez was shot and killed during an armed robbery in Canton, Zeke Cohen's district.
And for me, I am committing to doing everything within my power to both hold the police department accountable, to bring the perpetrators to justice.
Community leader Pastor P.M. Smith questioning why Cohen isn't calling for the criminals to be held accountable.
He's holding the wrong people accountable. Go get the criminals.
A similar story played out in Annapolis this session as a bill limiting legal gun owners got the green light.
We're attacking folks that are doing the right thing, having a classroom hours, going to get the certification, and are more cognizant about the challenges if they are able to use their firearm, but being in a situation if they do have to, that it would be there versus the illegal firearms. We're doing things kind of backwards.
But tough on crime legislation failed to make it through once again, leaving Baltimore hoping for change for another year.
Now, we reached out to every city council member today asking them what their #1 priority is. We did not hear back from any of them. Reporting live from City Hall, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maxine, thank you. And this brings us to our question of the day. Do you think current city leadership can fix the crime problem? So far, 80% of those who voted say no. You can vote right now by going to foxbaltimore.com/vote. In Annapolis today, Governor Wes Moore signed 3 new bills into law.
The governor says these bills are in line with his mission of leave no one behind. The first bill is the cannabis reform legislation. This legislation establishes a licensing system for cannabis sales and use before it becomes legal in July 1st.
The governor also signed the Trans Health Equity Act into law. Beginning January 1st, the Maryland Medical Assistance Program will be required to provide gender-affirming treatment in a non-discriminatory manner.
The governor also signed a bill on abortion protection. The Right to Reproductive Freedom Act gives women the right to reproductive freedom and prevents the state from restricting abortion rights.
These ceremonies are really focusing on legislation. But really what they're about people. The people of our state who have helped us to make this one of the most productive legislative sessions for any administration at any time, period.
Well, Maryland voters will decide a constitutional amendment next year to enshrine abortion protections in the state constitution.
Unbelievable video of a car out of control, almost hitting a Fairfax County police officer during a traffic stop. We'll tell you how it all happened.
And a man is dead after a house fire in Pasadena. The latest on the investigation coming up.
I'm Autrell Najar in Washington with how the federal government is trying to get ahead of artificial intelligence, as experts warn it could quickly disrupt everyday life.
And we're going to be talking about the potential of some rain on and off and cool temperatures again this afternoon for the commute. Nothing to really ruin your commuting, but man, just more of that gloomy weather. Let you know when it finally ends in my Weather Authority forecast.
Happening around the state, a deadly fire happens in Pasadena, Anne Arundel County. Firefighters say they arrived at heavy fire and smoke coming out of the first and second floors of a home. When they put the fire out, crews found the body of a man they believe is the homeowner.
We're going to look to see what caused this fatality today
and what started the fire. And also, again, our condolences go out to the family. It is never an easy task when you are doing fire operations on the scene for our crews, and they did a really good job mitigating this today.
We are told the man's family has been notified.
A child hit by a car in Baltimore County. It happened on Ridge Avenue in Halethorpe, not far from Lamb of God School. Police say the child was attempting to cross the street and was hit by an oncoming car. The child was taken to a nearby hospital. At this time, their condition is unknown. The driver did remain on the scene. An investigation is ongoing.
This is unbelievable video, folks. Take a look at this terrifying scene. A scary encounter for a Virginia officer Monday as he narrowly escapes a car crash during a traffic stop. See here, the officer is doing a traffic stop, but a warning, we want to show you the moment of the impact. Keep watching. In inches in any other direction, and we may be talking about a different story. That BMW came across the highway, went through the median, over to the side where the officer was, almost hit him, hit the car he stopped, and it hit his cruiser, if you could see that as well. The officer was trying to make a traffic stop when it all happened. You can see the other vehicle was speeding, clearly lost control, jumped the center, and hit the officer's car, narrowly missing the officer. The driver is a 17-year-old and is now charged with reckless driving. 2 additional passengers in that car suffered minor injuries.
Microsoft's chief economist joins the list of experts issuing warnings about advancements in artificial intelligence, disrupting economies, politics, and aspects of really everyday life.
National correspondent Dr. El Nashar has a closer look as tech companies race to be the leader of AI.
AI progressing at a breakneck pace has experts in government and technology sounding alarm bells much sooner than they expected. No better example than Jeffrey Hinton, known as the godfather of AI for developing fundamental AI technology. He worked at Google up until this week. Here's what he said about the company's work just a couple of months ago.
They're extremely cautious about AI because they've got this wonderful search engine that gives you the answers you want to see, and they can't afford to risk that.
Now resigned from Google, saying this.
I want to sort of blow the whistle and say we should worry seriously about how we stop these things getting control over us.
Advancements in AI like chatbots, prompting comparisons to other society-altering upgrades in tech, like the proliferation of social media, but with higher stakes.
It knows how to program, so it'll figure out ways of getting around restrictions we put on it. It'll figure out ways of manipulating people to do what it wants.
In a statement to the New York Times, Google's chief scientist, Jeff Dean, says, "We remain committed to a responsible approach to AI. We're continually learning to understand emerging risks while also innovating boldly." The Federal Trade Commission also trying to balance support for innovation with user protection. In an op-ed for The Times, FTC Chair Lina Khan lays out some economic risks too, like AI being used to facilitate price fixing or reinforcing market dominance of large firms. Meanwhile, IBM announcing the company expects to pause hiring for 7,800 positions that could be replaced by AI. On Thursday, Vice President Kamala Harris and senior administration officials will meet with the CEOs of Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, and Anthropic. A White House official tells me they let these executives know they aim to have a frank conversation about the current and near-term risks of AI and how they can work together on the issue, echoing the president's call on companies to make sure their products are safe before they're public. In Washington, I'm Atrel Nashar.
Well, caught on camera, an elementary school principal in West Virginia gets a wild surprise this past Monday. James Marsh is trying to open the garbage can because he heard growling and roaring from inside the dumpster. As you see, a black bear was inside that whole time. The bear ran the other way, the principal ran one way, and everybody is okay, but it definitely gave everybody a big scare. Look at the other teachers. She's like, oh my goodness. He's like kneeling over.
Look at him. Yeah, you know what?
Catching his breath.
Heart attack.
I think I need a new job after that. I'm sorry.
I think I would too.
I'm sorry.
It's one thing to deal with children, but another thing to do. But the bear was clearly locked locked in that dumpster.
It looked like it, right?
The principal undid like this big bar.
That's a smart one there. Now I know why when I go skiing up at Wisp out in Western Maryland, they have those big, bulky monster, trash cans.
They do.
With the,
And they latch them.
You have to lock it. But...
Oh, man. All right, around here, no bears in our forecast, but showers, yes. We do have some sprinkles and light rain here and there. Kind of a bear of a forecast, I suppose you could say. Westminster to Tawnytown, Cockeysville. This is day 3 of this now. We just cannot catch a break. Not yet, but things are going to get better, and I think you're going to like the timing. Take a look on the national view. We'll put this on the what we call the national composite of the radar. There's still some snow actually out there, not too far from Bear Country in West Virginia. You see some of those higher ridge tops getting some of that blue. And into western PA, also a mix of rain and maybe even a couple of snow showers. Still this spiraling, spinning, nasty system. There it is. That's off to our north, continuing to push the moisture at us. The storm right near New York City right now, and it's gradually drifting south and eastbound. It's keeping us cool. It's keeping us breezy. It's keeping us with that limited sunshine and then those on and off showers like we've seen in the past few days. But this is a means to an end. Yesterday, that storm system was right about here, not too far from Toronto. Now it's made that move eastbound. And as we head into the next couple of days, eventually this thing's going to drift and continue to weaken and push its way off the coast. And that is when things are going to get real nice around here. So the baby steps to improvement will continue. Right now it's chilly, 56. Winds out of the northwest at 10, humidity at 49%. Temperatures all across the board are in the 50s. We should be in the low to mid 70s this time of year. And not helping out again is that good gusty breeze about 10, 15 miles an hour. There's still some gusts about 20 to 30. This has been a constant problem the past couple of days, too, keeping us feeling even cooler than it is. Notice by about 5:15, 6 o'clock, we're still seeing some spot showers, but by about 9, 10 o'clock, they're gone. And then overnight tonight, there could be a stray sprinkle here or there. Tomorrow, rinse, repeat. I think it's slightly lesser coverage of rain. And also, temperatures may finally make it to near 60 degrees. And then on Friday, look at this. Whoa, we could even have no rain potentially. And then look at this on Saturday and Sunday, 70s in the forecast. There could be a stray sprinkle here on Sunday, but outside of that, real nice looking weekend, low to mid 70s. Everybody outside. Wash off the cabin fever, and then into early next week could push near 80 degrees, which is finally above average. Slim chance of some showers as we get into the middle of next week.
Well, the feds have raised interest rates once again. Hear from the Fed chair on the work to tame inflation. Nurses are leaving the profession next. What's contributing to the exit and the impact it could have on your care? Well, it seems nurses are not happy. A new survey has found career satisfaction for nurses is dropping. The National Desk's Didi Gatton has been looking into the details and explains how this could affect care.
The survey found 30% of nurses are likely to leave the career due to the pandemic. That's up 7 points since 2021. The AMN Healthcare Survey of Registered Nurses is based on responses from more than 18,000 nurses in January 2023. Just 15% of hospital nurses say they will continue in the same job in a year. The survey also said 4 of 5 nurses experience high stress levels, up 16 points since 2021. This comes after nurses nationwide have gone on strike or said they're ready to, calling out contracts and working conditions.
They're really the backbone of the emergency care system, and without nurses, we can't function. We rely on them. We all work together as a team, and when any single team member isn't present or isn't there in sufficient numbers, it affects the child's care. And so we need to make sure that nurses are supported.
A spokesperson for AMN says the U.S. could be short 1 million nurses in a couple years as baby boomers age and workers leave the field. Reporting for the National Desk, I'm Didi Gatton.
New questions about safe streets. Why the family of a man murdered 3 years ago is asking for transparency. And the feds are raising interest rates again, what the Fed chair says about the fight against inflation. And another phone company data breach, details on whether you could have been exposed.
After the murder of my father, I met somebody who I'm deeply connected to, who had a relationship with Safe Streets. And even from their experience, I can say that I don't know how safe it is.
Well, the murder of a man 3 years ago is raising new questions about safe streets.
It is the mayor's flagship crime-fighting strategy, which involves using people who have previously been involved in crime to interrupt future violence in their communities.
As Mackenzie Frost reports, there continue to be questions about how the program works.
Demond Scroggins
He was a challenging little young man at first.
was a man with a past.
Did some time in prison.
Some gun and drug charges stacked up on his record, but his father, Charles Goods, and daughter Paige Scroggins,
My father was the best.
say Demond was a man looking to turn his life around.
He had shared with me probably about a couple weeks before he was murdered that he was looking to be hired by Safe Street.
Did he say why he wanted to get involved?
Well, he was looking for employment.
On September 9th, 2019, Scroggins was shot and killed inside a home on East Lafayette Avenue, while his girlfriend, who was a Safe Streets employee, was upstairs.
Demond had called her and said that he had just finished fighting her co-worker and he was on his way home. So he rode home on a bike.
According to court records, Ronald Brady Jr. was charged with Demond's murder, going to trial once in 2022, ending in a hung jury. Brady went to trial again this year, where he was found not guilty in March. Fox 45 News obtaining records showing Brady was hired by the Baltimore Community Mediation Center to serve as the site director of the Woodbourne-McCabe Safe Streets location on June 25th, 2019. Just over a week after Scroggins was killed, Brady was fired.
We've been investigating the organization
for years. We still don't have that information. Fox 45 News has been trying to get more information about who the Safe Streets workers are. The city of Baltimore redacting the names of all of the employees. The city shielding that information along with other details about the operations of the program. After threatening to sue, Baltimore City finally handing over contracts with the nonprofits operating the Safe Streets sites. The hundreds of pages include the Woodbourne-McCabe site contract, requiring the nonprofit to pay for criminal background checks of all employees, contractors, and volunteers. And with Brady's record, including second-degree murder, assault, drug and gun convictions, the contract prompted us to send Monzi a few questions, including, what is the city's screening process or policies when it comes to hiring Safe Streets employees? Is there a threshold of violence or certain crimes that prohibit people from being hired? Monzi responding, saying the agency provides some oversight to the groups who then run the Safe Streets sites. Jackson's office also often not answering some questions about how Safe Streets workers spend their days on the clock. Combing through the court records of Brady's murder trial, Fox 45 News finding evidence the Safe Streets workers were not meeting at their locations. Scroggins' girlfriend, who worked at the Woodbourne-McCabe site too, was interviewed by police in January of 2020. According to the transcript, she says the Safe Streets employees would meet at places like Applebee's or McDonald's, and she was told how to clock in on my phone without actually having to go to work. Not being at the location lines up with months of investigating. Going to Safe Streets sites, only to be met with mostly silence. The city maintains Safe Streets is effective, pointing to this Johns Hopkins report outlining some measures of success. But for this family, has your view of the Safe Streets program changed throughout this week?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. Yes. My belief is that our city government is financing a criminal enterprise. I believe that within my heart. Our city government is so invested in it that it's turning a blind eye to what it really is.
There are people with ill will involved. There are people who are operating under the disguise that they are trying to reform in some way. And I'm so sorry to the people who are involved with good intentions, because you're involved with a program that has no intention on doing what it says that it's trying to do.
The program designed to turn the streets of Baltimore into a safe space is forever tainted to them. And they say the program needs a lot of work before success can be seen.
They need to screen these guys. They need to screen them for their contacts, what type of contacts they have now. You know, are they still dealing with the same people that they were dealing with before?
Scrap it and start it over with a new layout. It takes more than a Band-Aid to really address an issue.
Scrapping the program isn't likely. Last month, Mayor Brandon Scott and Director Jackson both announced an additional $5 million investment will be going to the Safe Streets program. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
A spokesperson from Monzi also issued a statement telling Fox 45 News, in part, our frontline workers have a deep enough love for the people of Baltimore that they risk their lives to mediate conflicts and promote peace. This work will not stop, and in Monzi, in partnership with our site administrators, will continue to ensure every Safe Street site has strong buy-in understanding and integrity in and around communities they serve. Right now, a man who used to work for Safe Streets is serving an 11-year sentence in prison for drug distribution. Prosecutors say in 2020, 50-year-old Ronald Alexander used his position with Safe Streets to try to stop investigators from tracking him. During a traffic stop, he told officers that he was working for Safe Streets and was let go. During a federal search at his home a few days later, police found guns and drug packaging material. In his plea agreement, Alexander confessed to taking drugs from people in the community as part of his work for Safe Streets.
Well, Fox 45 News continues to follow a new debate at City Hall over Councilman Yitzi Schleifer's efforts to better track how tax dollars are being spent. His bill calls for more transparency and accountability in the grant awarding process. Right now, once money is given to nonprofits, it's difficult to see where it goes.
We've seen just in the past year, hundreds of millions of dollars going out the door through the ARPA funding and other funding, and it's important to know where that money is going, what those organizations are doing, and this bill is going to help improve that. This will hopefully answer a lot of questions that people have as to where the money is going and are we getting a good return on those investments.
Well, it is possible this bill could shed light on how the Safe Streets program spends its money. Fox 45 News has been investigating that issue, as Mackenzie was talking about, for more than a year. Taxpayer watchdog David Williams says transparency is key.
People want this program to work. They want the streets to be safer, but they just don't know where the money is going. A lot of money is being spent, and a lot of lives are at risk. Taxpayers and the citizens want to know that the money that's being spent is being spent wisely.
Well, we know City Council President Nick Mosby is co-sponsoring the bill, along with Council members Zeke Cohen and Danielle McCrae. Mark Conway and Antonio Glover voiced their support as well. We sent questions to the other members asking where they stand, and we have not yet heard back. Fox 45 News then pressed Mayor Brandon Scott about the plan Monday, but he did not really take a stance.
I'm always someone that talks about transparency, but when you think about our grants, right, and the grants that the city gets, I don't think that anybody's gonna argue that, especially when we get them from the federal and the state government that has a lot of requirements and that information is out there for the public to see. We're always going to be pushing that out there. We'll see and talk with the council member about the piece of legislation as it goes through the process.
The legislation has been sent to the Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee for further debate. It is not clear when a hearing will be scheduled.
The Maryland State Department of Education is facing criticism over redacted test scores. Now we're learning this is not the first time the state changed how test results are reported. But last time it did happen, it was handled differently. Back in 2011, MSDE announced new standards for reporting student test results to the public. At the time, State Superintendent Dr. Nancy Grasmick told the school board and the public what her department was doing and why to align with new federal guidelines. Now compare that to what happened in March when current State Superintendent Dr. Muhammad Chowdhury's administration further redacted state test results with no input from state leaders, including the chair of the board.
For we believe that you can only move forward when you share data and you begin with a true baseline. We look forward to working
but
with you.
But what just happened to the state website is not sharing data, it's removing data from the website.
Well, tonight at 10 o'clock, Project Baltimore investigates what else the current administration did differently that raises questions over transparency and why some are asking lawmakers to get involved.
The Federal Reserve did what everybody expected. It raised interest rates today by 25 basis points. The Fed's policy statement softened that rate guidance somewhat, refraining from saying additional increases may be necessary. Today's increase was a unanimous decision. Wall Street has been waiting for the moment for weeks, hoping the Fed will begin to ease off on tightening sooner rather than later. This as the banking sector is in turmoil and the GDP slows. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says it'll take more work to bring inflation down.
Inflation has moderated somewhat since the middle of last year. Nonetheless, inflation pressures continue to run high, and the process of getting inflation back down to 2% has a long way to go.
Even so, Powell says inflation is trending in the right direction, citing recent financial reports showing the job market softening and some economic growth slowing. Well, according to ADP, in Maryland, workers are making on average $61,000 a year. That applies to people who have stayed in their role for the past 12 months. This also represents a 6.2% growth from last year. ADP says around the nation, workers are making on average $57,000 a year.
The manhunt for a Texas person wanted in the killing of 5 of his neighbors is over. 38-year-old Francisco Oropesa was arrested last night. Investigators say he shot the victims Friday night after being asked to stop shooting his rifle near a neighbor's home. Officials say they arrested several other people, including his wife. According to the local chief deputy, they are putting the pieces of the case together.
We may have the weapon, but we have to wait for ballistics. So I can't confirm.
Well, Oropesa is being held on $5 million bond.
New developments in the Russia war in Ukraine. Now Russia is accusing Ukraine of trying to launch an attack on the Kremlin.
Russian officials claim Ukraine attempted to send 2 drones to strike the Kremlin in Moscow. Now, Kremlin officials say Russia's military disabled the drones before they could strike and that there was no damage nor casualties. The Kremlin called the alleged attack an attempt at a terrorist act and said Russian President Vladimir Putin was safe. T-Mobile is reporting another data breach when sensitive customer information was released this year. And a rare dust storm claims another life in Illinois. Experts speak about what causes this to happen.
And take a look at the grass cutting forecast this afternoon. Not so great, not necessarily because it's raining so much, but we've had so many days of light rain, drizzle. Your grass can be kind of wet, temperatures in the 50s, but things are drying out. I'll let you know when you can get out there and do some yard work. My Weather Authority forecast.
The death toll from Monday's multi-vehicle pileup in the state of Illinois has now climbed to 7. 72 cars were involved in that accident. 37 others were hurt. Now, the crash happened during a dust storm. Winds at the time were clocked between 35 and 45 miles an hour. The gust, combined with dry conditions and farmers tilling soil, led to zero visibility on the road. Look at that. Wow. Well, dust storms typically occur over the Middle East and North Africa, but meteorologists say they can happen anywhere and any time rain hasn't fallen in an area and there aren't enough obstacles to slow the wind down.
Certainly, dust storms happen, but it is not something that happens every day here in this part of Illinois or in any part of Illinois. So this is a very series of unusual circumstances.
Well, according to the American Meteorological Society, 232 Americans were killed by wind-blown dust events between 2007 and 2017. Arizona and New Mexico typically see such events every summer in July and August. All it takes, again, is strong winds, which can come from thunderstorm outflow and an accumulation of loose dirt and not much rain. Now, if drivers hit a dust storm, the National Weather Service recommends pulling to the side of the road and stopping and staying alive. Meanwhile, with all of the rain we've been seeing in our region recently, your lawn will quickly be growing. But is your mower ready for it? Consumer Reports testers share their recommendations and reviews with Patrice Sanders.
It's not your typical vacation photo dump, but every year, Consumer Reports lawnmower experts escape the cold Northeast winters for sunny Florida.
We go down to Florida in February while some people are still digging themselves out from snow so that we can test mowers before people are thinking about what they need.
Every mower goes through a series of tests, from how evenly the grass is trimmed to how easy the mowers are to operate. Testers use the mowers in all the cutting modes to see how well they work and to make sure you're getting what you pay for, whether it's a traditional gas-powered mower or newer battery-powered technology that keeps getting better and cheaper.
We're seeing more and more battery-powered mowers coming on the market that are at the lower price point, but manage to compete in terms of performance with the better ones.
This Greenworks self-propelled battery mower earns top scores for evenness, mulching, and handling. A final tip, Consumer Reports says that unless you need to bag your clippings, mulching is actually better for your lawn because the clippings deliver nutrients. For larger lawns, more than half an acre, a riding mower may be a better option. However, if your lawn is too big for a walk-behind, but not quite large enough for a tractor, CR's experts say a mower with an extra-wide cutting deck can also help trim your grass and the time you spend cutting it. Patrice Sanders, Fox 45 News.
Okay. So I don't have a lot of time to cut my grass these days. I try to get out there, but I do that. I stopped collecting it. I just compost it.
Yeah,
what do you do?
I have the mulching recycling mower, so
okay.
I just throw it right back
on there, right?
You just
perfect.
have to make sure you don't wait too long because then you get those clumps that clop all over the place.
You don't want your grass growing too high. That's a good point.
So, any case, this rain is helping my grass do just that. So I got to get out there and do some mowing. I just mowed last week, but that was when we had the moderate drought. Now things have totally changed around here. Obviously, a few days of some pretty good rains, and now this several dreary, gloomy days, and you see some showers still. Westminster, Frederick, Green Valley, almost into Baltimore right now. You probably see it in the distance with some of the gray skies right around Milford Mill. The PM commute featuring maybe some spatters on the windshield, and you could even have potentially some wet roads, especially where you see some of the yellows that sprout up from time to time west of the city down Route 70. And there's even some snow still hanging out in West Virginia and portions of extreme western Maryland in the highest elevations. It's part and parcel of this big system that's, I mean, it's just been sitting day after day after day. It's been kind of the drought buster for us, if you will, with the record rain that we saw Friday, and then we saw some more showers on Sunday, and then just this dreary kind of on and off showery Seattle type pattern Monday, Tuesday, now Wednesday. Stays cool. Notice a storm system just off to our north and east. The showers, the breezy conditions continuing again, not only for this afternoon, but potentially again for tomorrow. This thing is slow to move. But the good news here is that this storm system, as you see, it was west. By the end of the day, it's starting to move off the Atlantic coast. I think by tomorrow, it's offshore. And by Friday, we potentially could even have a fully, get this, dry day. 56 right now, mostly cloudy skies on the Toyota East Shore Harbor Skycam. Winds out of the northwest at 10, so it does feel cooler than it is. Temperatures low to mid 50s right now. We haven't gotten out of the 50s today. Should be in the low and mid 70s this time of year, so we're 15 to 20 degrees below average again. And those winds clipping in out of the north and west at about 10 to 15, gusts up to about 20 to 30. So that's not going to help out either. It's going to feel cooler than it is. Some spot showers again through about 5:15. By about 10 o'clock tonight, they're gone. So great news there for the morning commute. It looks like it's primarily dry, unlike this morning where we did have some of the spot drizzle and the light showers. By 4:30 a.m., not much going on. Temperatures low to mid 40s to begin. And then by about noontime, the clouds, there we go. They're percolating again in those spot showers for tomorrow afternoon. But as we could see a little bit more sunshine, potentially high temperatures right near 60. And then it looks like Friday, there's that potentially dry day. I'm still going to say maybe a 10-20% chance of a shower here or there. But high temperatures by then well up into the mid, maybe even upper 60s. Spot showers for tomorrow. And then that sight for sore eyes. Look at that Saturday, Sunday highs in the low to mid 70s. Could even be near 80 degrees into early next week.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, the Orioles are now 1 full month into the season, and they have won the first game of all 9 series openers. But last night's win in Kansas City didn't start out easy for the O's. After a long fight against the Royals, Baltimore came out on top with the final score of 11-7. Tonight, the O's take on Kansas City again. First pitch, 7:40 p.m. The Orioles currently have the second best record in MLB, sitting at 20-9. How about that? Coming up at 5 o'clock, bringing peace and quiet to the area around BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport. How state officials are testing for noise pollution. If you rely on the subway to move around Baltimore, get ready for a system-wide shutdown this weekend. We'll tell you the reason why and the arrangements the MTA is making. T-Mobile says it's experienced a second data breach this year. The phone company reports the attack happened between February and March and exposed hundreds of account holders. The company says it sent letters to impacted customers on April 28th, informing them that the hacker gained access to all their personal information and other data. Well, the Maine Attorney General's office says 836 customers were impacted before the company was aware on March 27th. Looking ahead to this weekend, the entire Baltimore metro system will be shut down. Officials say this is planned and not like the month-long shutdown back in 2018. It starts this Friday at 6 p.m. and will last until Monday, May 8th at 5 a.m. We spoke with MTA Administrator Holly Arnold this morning about why.
We're making a major investment, $400 million in new rail cars, a new signal system, and so this is kind of the last part of the work on the signal system to do a LiDAR survey so that they're able to know exactly where all of the switches, the interlockings, everything is in the system over this one weekend.
The bus bridge will be operating this weekend between all Metro subway stations every 30 minutes. And take a look at this. MedStar Franklin Square Medical Center was popping this afternoon. It was for a good reason. This weekend, one of their doctors will be taking part in the Alzheimer's Association's Memory Ball Dancing Stars. This afternoon, he showed off his skills that he's been perfecting for some weeks. Dr. Domeyer says he has several family members who've been affected by Alzheimer's, and dancing will be in honor of his mother.
My inspiration for doing this is my mom. She had Parkinson's dementia, and so I'm dancing for her, as well as many of my patients that I cared for who had Alzheimer's disease. And a lot of friends who've reached out on Facebook and through other means telling me that they've had family, friends who have suffered from this terrible disease. So I'm dancing for all of them.
Well, Dr. Domeyer will compete against 13 other amateur dancers. The night will raise money for medical research and support services for families affected by Alzheimer's.
I have two left feet, so certainly give it to the doctor there. We got some sunshine on the way for our Friday. Now, you see the sprinkles, they are close by, but not quite here. So I'm going to keep an outside chance of a stray spritz to wrap up the work week. But then Saturday, looking good. Sunday, we are going to have to track the potential of a PM light shower, but it should not cancel any plans. We're going with 70s all weekend long, so we finally pay the piper here. We get some nice weather for the weekend. And I'm going to put green all over that yard cleanup forecast for this weekend. If you want to mow the grass or clean up anything from last fall, should be okay. Just a spritz Sunday. Shouldn't cancel plans.
We can deal with the spritz. Thank you, Jonathan. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, a pizza delivery driver is shot and carjacked overnight in Baltimore. The startling 911 audio as he's attacked on the job. And possibly bringing back CityStat as an independent agency, the program's new goal, and where a former deputy director sees value.
A delivery driver shot and carjacked overnight. A suspect still at large. Fox 45 investigates as a second person is attacked on the job in 4 days.
That shooting seemingly an example of Baltimore's crime striking anywhere at any time. Now a former police commissioner sounds off on the violence breaking out in all situations around the city.
And a manhunt underway after an Atlanta mass shooting. What police are sharing about the suspect after a hospital is attacked.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
Thank you for joining us at 5 o'clock. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. A Baltimore delivery driver shot and carjacked overnight in Baltimore, joining the list of people shot while trying to earn a living in Baltimore.
Another man shot and killed this week at a T-Mobile store in Canton, where he worked, as his family now calls for accountability.
We want justice for my brother. That we want Brandon Scott to fulfill, to protect this city, run this city from crime.
Well, tonight we have team coverage as Baltimore's violence continues to seemingly touch all corners of the city.
And we begin with Alexa Ashwell joining us in studio with more on the delivery driver attack from last night. Alexa.
Kai, Mary, the frustration simply mounting. Yet another person has fallen victim to gun violence while simply earning a living here in Baltimore. This time, a pizza delivery driver. Just before 11:30 last night, Baltimore police respond to this neighborhood outside of Druid Hill Park in northwest Baltimore after reports of a shooting.
Hey, the victim in the shooting is a pizza delivery.
Listen, as police detail to 911 dispatch what officers find at the scene. A pizza delivery driver, while delivering an order, shot in the face and leg.
Yeah, he's shot in the face, and it looks like the right thigh area.
The suspects then stealing his car.
They made off with his car. That's the vehicle they pulled off in. It's a 2006 Honda CR-V.
The victim rushed to an area hospital as police begin their investigation. According to the department, the 55-year-old delivery driver, while making a delivery, was approached by two men here on Cottage Avenue. The suspects, investigators say, announced a robbery, and during it, one of the men shot the victim. The delivery driver, the latest person to fall victim to violence here in Baltimore, while simply working.
2500 Boston, T-Mobile, male shot inside of location.
Just this week, 23-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez was shot and killed by armed robbers while working at this T-Mobile in Canton.
I'm sad for him. I'm sad for his family. The PTSD that it's bringing back to me.
The homicide bringing back traumatic memories for Jody Rossoff. She says her shop in Highlandtown was also robbed at gunpoint just weeks ago. Rossoff frustrated by the level of crime in Baltimore, as well as the handling of criminals. After more than 40 years in business here in Baltimore, Rossoff is deciding to close her shop, saying it's simply not safe.
This is our second armed robbery in 6 months. We have been here in the city for 44 years. For 44 years, we have paid property taxes, we have paid retail sales taxes, we have employed people. Shame on the mayor, shame on, the judges and the prosecutors and our former state's attorney for letting this happen to Baltimore City.
Calling for city leaders to do more, as a delivery driver now lies in the hospital, shot while on the job. I checked with police. The department would not confirm if the victim's vehicle has been found. No suspect description has been released. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. And as Alexa mentioned, 23-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez shot and killed at the Canton T-Mobile store. Tonight, the suspects are still at large. His family overcome with grief, sharing their story with Fox 45 News as they make funeral arrangements. His parents and brothers saying they are alive, but they feel dead inside with the loss of their son.
Nobody wants to hear their son at work, doing an honest job, being shot over people trying to steal phones, money, or whatever they're trying to do. It breaks our heart to know that we lost my brother to two criminals run wild in this city.
Fabian's family joining a growing call for city leaders to do something about crime in Baltimore's commercial areas.
When you have innocent people being murdered midday
in your business districts, you have a tremendous problem on your hands.
And those words from former Police Commissioner Ed Norris, who says crime is happening anywhere at any time in Baltimore. Fox 45's Amy Simpson joins us live downtown right now. Amy's looking into the unpredictability of the violence we've been seeing. Amy?
Yes, Kai, in just the last few days, more examples of crime in Baltimore sparing no zip code or time of day. It was just before 4:30 Sunday afternoon.
There's a brazen robbery that happened in daytime
when 23-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez was shot during an armed robbery at the T-Mobile in Canton. The store employee later died from his injuries. Last month, also on a Sunday, 2 teens were shot along Pratt Street, steps from the Inner Harbor. Cell phone video captured the aftermath as crowds ran.
You know, the shooting happened and then we had to run.
This woman said she was caught in that chaos last month, leaving a family dinner downtown, speaking to Fox 45 News anonymously the next day.
My husband, at that time, he was trying to gank me, but still pushing my child in our stroller. So that was the startling part.
In December, the day after Christmas, a man was shot and killed at the Mondawmin MTA Metro stop. And almost exactly 1 year ago, May 4th, 2022, this citizen video revealed a bloody T-shirt and police tape on the steps of the Hippodrome Theater after a man was shot as a performance was underway inside.
There is violence everywhere. And it used to be confined to certain neighborhoods that people knew where not to go, like you wouldn't be on Greenmount Avenue at 2:30 in the morning or something like that. But now it's extended throughout the city.
Former Police Commissioner Ed Norris pointing to a problem without concern for the place or time.
There's no boundaries, no time of day. It doesn't matter if it's the afternoon, doesn't matter where you are. You can be the victim of a horrible, violent crime.
Norris also said people are leaving Baltimore in droves. Crime, he says, is to blame.
When you step out of your house, you're in danger in this town. Doesn't matter where you are.
As for the search for who pulled that trigger inside the Canton T-Mobile store on Sunday, we do know police are looking for 2 suspects. Today, all BPD would say is detectives are actively investigating. We're live downtown. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think current city leadership can fix the crime problem? So far, 96% of the people who voted say no. You can make your voice heard right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote. Well, Baltimore's Public Safety and Government Operations Committee holding a meeting on possibly bringing back CityStat as an independent office. Started in 1999, well, Martin O'Malley was mayor. The office uses a data-driven approach to track issues like crime and public works requests. Councilman Mark Conway used to serve as deputy director of CityStat and sees the value of the program.
Part of the reason why I put this bill forward is because I believe wholeheartedly that CityStat is part of the fabric of city government and is part of an effective and efficient and smart government. And the beautiful thing about it is that CityStat is very simple. The idea is to use data that we already have to solve problems and to find innovative ways to address issues that we've been dealing with for some time or new issues that arise.
It is currently part of the mayor's Office of Performance and Innovation. If the change is approved, CityStat would have a new director, budget, and staff.
In Annapolis, Governor Wes Moore signs 3 new bills into law. The cannabis reform legislation establishes a licensing system for cannabis sales and use before it becomes legal July 1st. The governor also signed a bill on abortion protection. The Right to Reproductive Freedom Act gives women the right to reproductive freedom and prevents the state from restricting abortion rights.
These ceremonies are really focusing on legislation, but really what they're about is they're about people. The people of our state who have helped us to make this one of the most productive legislative sessions for any administration at any time, period.
Well, with the governor's signature, Maryland will soon be funding more medical services for the state's transgender community, but that move has some lawmakers crying discrimination. The state's Medicaid program already covers gender transitioning, but the Trans Health Equity Act, signed into law today, will expand that coverage to include treatments like hair alterations, voice modifications, and face and neck alterations.
It seems discriminatory to
utilize Medicaid money for cosmetic surgeries, fertility services that aren't offered to other people on Medicaid.
Or during the session, opponents like Delegate Kathy Szeliga pointed out that for other low-income Marylanders, there are pages of services which Medicaid does not pay for, like dentures for adults and treatment for many eating disorders. The new law takes effect January 1st. A deadly fire happened in Anne Arundel County. Firefighters say they arrived to heavy fire coming out of the first and second floors of a home in Pasadena. When it was put out, crews found the body of a man they believe is the homeowner.
We're going to look to see what caused this fatality today and what started the fire. And also, again, our condolences go out to the family. It is never an easy task when you are doing fire operations on the scene for our crews, and they did a really good job mitigating this today.
We are told the man's family has been notified. We'll bring you more information as it becomes available.
Police in Baltimore County say a child was hit by a car this morning along Ridge Avenue in Halethorpe. It happened just after 7:30 this morning. Police say the child was trying to cross the street when it happened and has since been taken to an area hospital. No word on their condition. The Baltimore County Police crash team is investigating. And breaking right now, a manhunt underway in Atlanta after one person was killed, at least 4 others shot inside a hospital waiting room. You can see the suspect on the right. Police are looking for 24-year-old Dion Patterson. He is considered armed and dangerous. All 5 of the victims are women. Again, one is dead and 3 are in critical condition.
Coming up, you can expect some hiccups this weekend if you're using the Metro. Why MTA is shutting it down.
Democrats and Republicans joining forces to take on big tech in hopes of making it safer for kids. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with a look at how they want to change social media.
And as we head into the early evening hours and wrap up your PM commute, could see a sprinkle or a shower, pretty much the same game we've been playing for day in, day out past 3 days. Temperature is going to be in the cool 50s, falling to the 40s, but I'll let you know when sunshine and 70s to near 80 could be in the forecast. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
New tonight, the Maryland Board of Public Works is providing sound insulation for homes near BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport, hoping to block out some of those noises from planes flying overhead. And take a look at someone using audio equipment to kind of test noise at the home near the airport. The $35 million project would fit new insulation around 18 homes. The improvements include windows and doors designed to block noise, as well as sealant and other treatments. That program has already fitted more than 700 homes with this technology.
Marylanders made more money in 2022, according to a report from ADP. Average wages went up 6.2%, but that's actually a smaller increase than the national average. But Marylanders who have stayed in their job for a year or more make an average of $61,000 annually, nearly $4,000 above the national average.
Drug maker Eli Lilly says it's made a major breakthrough in treatment for Alzheimer's. In a clinical trial, the company's medicine slowed progression of the disease, listen to this, by 35% over 18 months. The drug is an antibody that injected into the blood. It travels to the brain, finds and binds to plaques. Plaques often are one of the big things that lead or an indication of Alzheimer's. Then the body's own immune system clears the plaque away. Eli Lilly has submitted it to the FDA for approval.
Well, right now in Washington, there is a renewed push against big tech companies over inappropriate content that children are subjected to and programs that are said to be addictive.
As Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman tells us, that's creating some rare bipartisanship.
As divided as Washington often is, some causes do bring both sides together. Now the safety of children online doing just that.
Social media has run up against the mama bears.
Parents are not just concerned, they're angry.
Republican Marsha Blackburn and Democrat Richard Blumenthal pushing the Kids Online Safety Act to force social media companies to limit potentially harmful posts and an added responsibility.
To respond to parents when parents flag something and say, this is a video that promotes self-harm, eating disorders, suicide, puts kids in touch with drug dealers, pedophiles.
Telling Sinclair's Christine Frizzell that companies would undergo annual audits of their practices, use the strongest privacy settings for kids, and face penalties if they don't. Expecting some sort of pushback from big tech companies, lawmakers tell us they're ready for that fight, that there are now over 30 co-sponsors from both parties and hundreds of organizations supporting the bill. That after an increase in parents of victims demanding Congress intervene.
I woke to the complete shock and horror that Carson had hung himself in our garage while we slept. After his death, we discovered that Carson had received nearly 100 negative, harassing, sexually explicit, and humiliating messages.
But it's not without critics who worry social media platforms will over-moderate or censor. One company rep stating, "We are constantly evaluating how to make our platform safer, including through new education, features, and protections." Lawmakers saying it's time these companies reveal to those most affected how they work so they can become safer. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Facebook's parent company Meta is taking down a network of more than 100 fake social media accounts pushing pro-China talking points. Meta says the Facebook and Instagram profiles posed as those of U.S. and European organizations, but they actually appear to be associated with a tech company in China. The tech company did not return a request for comment.
Hey, let's take a live look at the Inner Harbor right now. As the sun, what is that, Mary? That's the sun.
What?
Not S-O-N, S-U-N. It is starting to poke out through a soggy start to the week across the region.
Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers here. Jonathan, when could we expect some warmer weather to go with the renewed vision of the sun?
It's like an oil painting out there right now.
It is beautiful.
We've got a little stripe of blue in the skies, but mainly, yes, guys, it is some of the clouds. And unfortunately, the bad side of this is some of those clouds have been producing some spot showers and sprinkles. Once again, Mount Airy actually looking like you're getting a good little downpour there toward Cooksville and Green Valley. It's just another day, same story. All the way back to Hagerstown, now encroaching on Baltimore down to Severn, Eastern Shore. Going to probably get in on a couple of these too by sunset. this kind of stripe of rain moving in again from the northwest to the southeast. And it's all part and parcel again of that same system. It's just been spiraling around, not in any rush to really go anywhere. It's bringing the cool weather, also the breezy weather, also the showery weather. And that storm system gradually, oh so slowly into tomorrow, it's going to weaken and start moving its way eastbound. And look at this, potentially as we head into Friday, see some of that light green still mixed in there. There's outside chances of rain, maybe a 10% chance, something like that. But besides that, maybe our first dry day in 4 or 5 days, and it looks like into the weekend even better yet. Toyota Eastern Harbor Skycam, there's that beautiful shot once again across the downtown skies. 53 winds into the west-northwest at 18 miles an hour, almost a wind chill right now. Feels likely more like the 40s, although technically we don't clock in wind chills until it gets below 50 degrees. But 53 here in Baltimore feels colder than that with the breeze. 54 at Cockeysville, a showery 50 up at Westminster. The wind still hauling in out of the northwest now at 15 to 25. Some of those gusts about 25 to 30 at times. Nothing damaging, but it's just the stuff that makes it feel not so nice outside. And you're going to need those jackets once again. I had long sleeves on today. I know you probably did too. It looks like jackets back out tonight. Temperatures near 40, maybe even some 30s outlying areas. And then by tomorrow afternoon, the cool pattern continues again with the clouds and maybe a spot shower or two. We'll call it about a, say, 30-40% chance of rain, maybe a little lesser rain chance than today. And high temperatures likely getting into the low 60s. By Friday, yep, follow the clock. Afternoon, 1:45, and what's missing? Rain. Yes, so it looks like finally we may have a dry day on Friday. I think I'm going to put about a 10-20% chance in there. Not going to actually put it on the maps, but as you work into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, there you go. Low mid-70s over the weekend. How about near 80 degrees and some sun into early next week?
Coming up, sometimes fortune favors the bold. Two Marylanders share their experience on the Wheel of Fortune and why failure is a key lesson in preparing for the show. A major national retail chain picks up and leaves San Francisco. A local economist discusses whether we could see the same here in Baltimore. It is time to spin the wheel. Two Maryland locals spinning for their chance to win America's game show. Nolanda Robert and Antoinette Myers joined our Patrice Sanders this morning to talk about how they prepare for the show. Antoinette says it's about not being afraid to fail.
I think one of the ways that I understood to be prepared was crossword puzzles.
Okay.
The Wheel of Fortune game app was really fun, and I've always been playing that. So,
okay.
And really just like preparing to know that you can always guess wrong and be okay with that, right?
Right.
Because I did that last night.
We do that every night sitting in front of the television. Look at that. Look at how they're doing it. Ladies, thank you so much, and we will be watching tomorrow.
Thank you.
And as Patrice mentioned, you can watch Antoinette's episode tomorrow. Wheel of Fortune airs every weeknight at 7:30 right here on Fox 45. Ahead at 5:30, bills on pronouns and leaf blowers up for debate in Baltimore. Fox 45 News questions why fighting crime isn't more of a focus for lawmakers.
The Navy trying new ways to attract young people to the armed services. I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington with why some experts say this new tactic might backfire.
Our top story at 5:30. City leaders are tackling everything from pronoun debates to leaf blowers, but some are questioning if the time should be focused on other things.
Fox 45's Maxine Stryker takes a look at their priorities.
As crime continues to plague Baltimore City, our elected leaders focused on stopping it.
Crime is the #1 issue. Everybody knows it except our office holders.
On the council agenda Monday night, a bill sponsored by Christopher Burnett prohibiting the willful use of the incorrect name or pronouns of an individual under certain circumstances. On WBAL Radio's TJ Smith's show, Smith wondering where the council's priorities lie.
Doesn't mean we can't do more than one thing at a time, but prioritize those things and make sure if we're going to have the conversation about how difficult, it is to do certain things like fight the crime in the schools, the education and everything. Let's make sure we're putting that as a top priority all the time. It has to be.
Callers also expressing concern.
We've had 300 murders a year in the city and however many shootings. We have failing schools being covered up by corruption. And we have far too many real victims, and that we don't need any more because people have their feelings hurt.
And this isn't the first time council members' priorities have been called into question this year. Councilman Ryan Dorsey's proposal in March to ban gas-powered leaf blowers received blowback.
Put your focus on the crime. The crime is sincerely out of hand.
Over the weekend, 23-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez was shot and killed during an armed robbery in Canton, Zeke Cohen's district.
And for me, I am committing to doing everything within my power to both hold the police department accountable, to bring the perpetrators to justice.
Community leader Pastor P.M. Smith questioning why Cohen isn't calling for the criminals to be held accountable.
He's holding the wrong people accountable. Go get the criminals.
A similar story played out in Annapolis this session as a bill limiting legal gun owners got the green light.
We're attacking folks that are doing the right thing, having a classroom hours, going to get the certification, and are more cognizant about the challenges if they are able to use their firearm, but being in a situation if they do have to, that it would be there versus the illegal firearms. We're doing things kind of backwards.
But tough on crime legislation failed to make it through once again, leaving Baltimore hoping for change for another year.
It was Maxine Stryker reporting. Baltimore not only is dealing with a crime crisis and how it could be impacting businesses, Nordstrom has announced that it will be closing both its locations in downtown San Francisco over crime concerns. At least 20 companies have announced that they're leaving the area since 2020.
Well, economist Anirban Basu of the Sage Policy Group joins us now live. Anirban, thanks for joining us.
Of course, always a privilege.
We've seen business owners here in Baltimore voice concern about crime. Most major retailers have really already left downtown. Do you think we'll see more departures?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is not unique to Baltimore. As you know, we've seen retailers depart Chicago and San Francisco, as the story mentioned, and many other cities. But because criminality is worse in Baltimore, the economic or negative economic effects of crime are worse here. And so one of the things that we see is that retailers don't come here in the first place. And of course, many of the ones that are here already, they leave or they shrink.
And Anirban, Baltimore police have been promising more security measures at the Inner Harbor and a curfew that's going to take place. Will that make things any better, do you think? And if not, what will it take for people to come back to downtown?
It makes a difference, but of course, law enforcement has to feel comfortable enough to enforce the laws. And if they feel hesitant to engage people who are engaging in mayhem and madness, then of course that mayhem and madness controls the streets, and that keeps people away. So it hurts visitation, it hurts small businesses, it hurts employment, it hurts job seekers, so on and so forth. It's significantly negative to the tax base, of course, but policymakers seem to have, as your story mentioned, other priorities.
Well, you know, Harbor Place is about to receive a $166 million investment as lawmakers are trying to breathe some life back into that area. What's your opinion? How effective could that be as an incentive for people to come downtown and have actually somewhere to shop downtown?
Obviously, it has some positive effect, but the question is how much. We have also a new Lexington Market. We have rehabilitation of Penn Station. We have a Top Golf, near M&T Bank Stadium. We have all kinds of amenities coming online. Of course, a refurbished arena. But how many people will actually come downtown when they're worried about their safety or their children's safety? That's the issue. You want to maximize the economic return of these investments, but can you maximize that return if people don't feel safe and decide, I'd rather be in downtown Towson? Maybe that's a bad example. Downtown Columbia, downtown Annapolis. That's the problem. People can do other things and come to downtown, and they have been.
All right. Well, we hope that tide turns around. Anirban Basu, an economist with the Sage Policy Group. Anirban, thank you. Well, the Maryland State Department of Education is facing criticism over redacted test scores. And now we're learning this is not the first time the state changed how test results are reported. The last time it happened, it was handled differently. In 2011, MSDE announced new standards for reporting student test results to the public. At that time, State Superintendent Dr. Nancy Grasmick told the school board and the public what her department was doing and why to align with new federal guidelines. Compare that to what happened in March when current State Superintendent Dr. Mohammed Chowdhury's administration further redacted state test results with no input from state leaders, including the chair of the school board.
For we believe that you can only move forward when you share data and you begin with a true baseline. We look forward to working
but
with
this is,
you.
But what just happened to the state website is not sharing data, it's removing data from the website.
Well, tonight at 10 o'clock, Project Baltimore investigates what else the current administration did differently that raises questions over transparency and why some are asking state lawmakers to get involved. Well, public transportation may be hard to come by this weekend in and around Baltimore. An MTA administrator spoke to our Tom Rogers about why a shutdown needs to happen.
A major shutdown of the entire Baltimore metro system taking place this weekend, and officials say this is planned and not like the month-long shutdown that happened in 2018. MDOT MTA Administrator Holly Arnold says the complete shutdown is necessary, and the schedule changes for light rail, they're both to help passengers get moving faster and safer.
We are planning to close the subway system this weekend, starting at 6 p.m. on Friday through 5 a.m. on Monday, to get a bunch of work done. We're doing a huge upgrade to our signal system, and so we're going to close the system to make that happen.
I think a lot of people may be nervous because the last time, it was about 5 years ago, when the subway system was shut down. It lasted a month. This is different than that.
Yeah, this is absolutely different. So last time we did this, it was an emergency in response to some needed repair work. This time, the system is in a state of good repair. We've been investing over the past several years. And we're making a major investment, $400 million in new rail cars, a new signal system. And so this is kind of the last part of the work on the signal system to do a LiDAR survey so that they're able to know exactly where all of the switches, the interlockings, everything is in the system over this one weekend.
Now, Arnold says the planned metro closure, again, will happen Friday night starting at 6 and then reopen Monday morning by 5. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
And you can also expect some delays if you're traveling the Bay Bridge this week. One lane of the eastbound span will be closed from 9 to noon tomorrow for preservation and maintenance work. One lane of the westbound span will also be closed for at least 6 hours each night through Saturday. You can check the full closure schedule at foxbaltimore.com.
Let's go live to Capitol Hill right now as the debt ceiling debate continues. America could default on its debt in less than a month if a deal isn't reached. This comes as the Federal Reserve is hiking interest rates for the 10th time. Today's increase was a unanimous decision. Wall Street has been waiting for this moment for weeks now, hoping the Fed will begin to ease off on tightening sooner rather than later. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says the debt ceiling is putting pressure on banks to raise rates.
Inflation has moderated somewhat since the middle of last year. Nonetheless, inflation pressures continue to run high, and the process of getting inflation back down to 2% has a long way to go.
Well, Powell does say inflation is trending in the right direction, citing a softening job market.
The U.S. military exploring new ways to attract young recruits as numbers drop. But a new approach is stirring some controversy in Washington. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins explains.
Active duty sailor, Yeoman Second Class Joshua Kelly doubles as a drag queen. Stage name, Harpy Daniels. Kelly is the Navy's first digital ambassador, posting TikToks about the military's welcoming culture to LGBTQ+ sailors. A Navy official telling the Daily Caller this was part of a 6-month campaign to reach a wider audience as the military struggles with recruiting Gen Z. Senator Eric Schmidt worries it will backfire.
It's really divisive, and I think infusing politics into our military is really destructive. It is driving people away. We've heard from military members who've come forward. They don't like it.
Criticism of the military's partnership with Harpy Daniels, echoing Bud Light's controversial collaboration with trans activist and TikTok star Dylan Mulvaney.
I got some Bud Lights for us.
Both campaigns using inclusivity to broaden their reach at the risk of alienating their base. Backlash from the Mulvaney partnership causing sales to drop 21.4% compared with the same period last year, as competitors Coors Light and Miller Lite increased sales by about the same margin. Parent company Anheuser-Busch undergoing a marketing reset, aiming new ads at traditional customers. And gifting a case of Bud Light to every employee of an Anheuser-Busch wholesaler. Navy veteran Cully Stimson worries the Harpy-Daniels partnership will have a similar negative impact on recruiting.
If the Navy thinks that that is going to attract the type of person that wants to serve in uniform in the Navy, they're just so woke and so missing what people who want to serve want. I think it shows an abysmal lack of judgment by senior leaders in the military.
The Navy is anticipated to miss this year's goal by 8,000 recruits. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think the U.S. military is becoming too political? You can vote right now by scanning the QR code on your screen or going to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
New tonight, Jackson Mahomes, social media personality and brother of star NFL quarterback Patrick Mahomes, has been arrested on aggravated sexual battery charges. The charges stem from an incident back in February in which Mahomes was seen shoving a waiter and forcibly kissing the owner at a Kansas City restaurant. Bond has been set at $100,000. A lawyer for Mahomes denied the allegations at the time.
Still ahead, another caravan of migrants is sent from Texas to New York. Why New York City leaders say the federal government isn't doing enough.
And it's hard to kind of say more of the same any different way, but yes, it's more of the same for tonight. Scattered rain, temperatures in the 40s. It looks like we do it again tomorrow, but we do finally have a welcome, drier, warmer change on the way. I'll let you know when it gets here. My Weather Authority forecast.